Hi everyone, this is the last time I'm going to be speaking to an expert as part of the SME SOS series. Can you believe it? Will is joining us. Will is the most unbelievable, or what I call now honorary founder. I remember when Will Butler-Adams from Brompton Bikes came on my Conversations of Inspiration. We were talking about what do you call someone who loves a business, who might not have just put the first pen to paper, but has taken it on as their own business baby. An honorary founder is Will Butler-Adams, OBE, and he is joining us. And you know why he's joining us, everybody? On the 1st of April, I think I've got the right date here. He joined us on the, I'm going to try and find the date. I think it was the 1st of April. Yes, 1st of April. He was our first ever expert on this series. And so I thought, who better than to finish it all off for us? And also he speaks such sense. It's like he's got a crystal ball.
Holly, how are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
Well, it's a miracle. This time it's worked more effectively. I was terrified. I was fiddling around waiting for your little round thing to say live and press the button. And compared to last time where we were a good 5 minutes before we actually got the damn thing going, I think we've done pretty well. You're experts. For me, I'm still an amateur.
Oh, bless you. I remember that last time. Harriet said to me, because we looked back at it, and she said, yeah, I think, let's say you've upskilled, Holly. You've upskilled since the last one you did.
I'm still a complete amateur.
Well, can you believe this? 1st of April is when we last saw each other like this. And it was obviously an unbelievable period of time. You were so kind. If I think back what we were going through to jump in on this and to help this small business community. I remember, if we take ourselves back, which is what I've done, I remember you talking about actually Brompton Bikes had been affected by COVID since January because of the imports from China. And then basically you were seeing sort of a 30% decrease when we hit in March. And then you saw almost when we spoke, you were back up to 2/3. And then now I listen to the news and I hear that sort of bike ride, everything has gone up by 60%. So just tell me, take me what's happened from when we last saw you, and has that actually translated into more sales? Are things going well, Will?
So we are incredibly privileged and lucky to be one of the few industries that is sort of benefiting from this crisis. Nice. And that, I mean, it's nearly sort of maybe even a little bit embarrassing sometimes, because there is such tragedy out there with people who have committed 10, 20 years of their lives, all that hard work, and they've done nothing wrong. No. And they've just had it all taken away. So we are lucky. And I think from when we last spoke, we had maybe a couple of months where things remained so scary, particularly the UK and European supply chain completely shut down on us with no notice. And now, funnily enough, our supply chain from in Asia, because we ship it by sea, we sort of had like 2 months worth of stuff bobbing about on the sea that meant it kept coming in. Even if they weren't putting it on the sea, it kept coming to us. And then when they did finally come out the other side, we could fly it over the top. But in Europe, in the UK, it ripped through Europe so quickly, boom, overnight, they said one day to the next we're closing. So we were hiring vans, we were dashing up to our suppliers, yanking out all the bits and bobs, even sometimes stuff that wasn't finished, and picking up their tooling and shoving it in a van and, just muddling through. But what really started to change was we're always trying to get our staff on the bike. Come on, guys, get on the bike. You can borrow one, and we've got showers and everything else. Yeah, no. Suddenly our own staff, those that were still working in the factory, were suddenly going, that bike, any chance of a bike? And then any chance of a bike, any chance of a bike? And all of our sort of, slightly old marketing bikes, they'd all gone to our staff. I was like, whoa, these guys don't normally cycle. They were getting on the bikes. They were really enjoying it. Then we had a hospital come to us and say, could we borrow some bikes? So we took some from our bike hire fleet. That went from 25 to 150 to 200. We maxed out on what we could lend to the hospital. Then we raised about 320 grand on a Kickstarter, last minute, get some money. We got 800 bikes to the NHS to help them. They all went. We've done 70,000 journeys, whatever else.
No way!
Yeah, this was all kicking off, and it was all hairy arse, fly by the seat of your pants. But what it made us think was, my God, if the NHS, which is a motley, crew of society, because the NHS covers all types of people, they all felt, from surgeons to support staff to nurses, doctors, they all decided they wanted to get on a bike. Our own staff are doing the same. And then we hear that Anne Hidalgo, the mayor of Paris, wants to put in 650 kilometers of cycle lanes. And people were realizing, having taken all these cars out and the air was a bit cleaner, that actually, hey, how nice this city is for me, the human being that lives in it. Why don't I just get on my bike and take my children for a buzz, because it's not rammed and scary. And we started thinking, hey, this is not just a little bubble. This isn't just a knee-jerk reaction. There is a seismic shift going on here. And at that point, we realized we stopped ordering everything because, of course, we were protecting our cash. Like, order more. And the interesting thing is, you're right when you say that 60% is probably where the sales demand is. But the reality is you can't deliver to that. Your staff are still vulnerable. We've still got staff off. We've got supply chain issues. They're still there. We are recruiting. We're trying to recruit 190 people in 9 months. Get your head around that. I mean,
what?
Whoa.
Hang on a minute. Let's just take a pause here. You're trying to recruit 190 people in 9 months?
Yeah.
For your UK operation?
Pretty much for the UK operation, yeah.
So where I came to visit you that time, in that building?
Yeah, pretty much.
What have you done? Expanded the build? I mean,
we stuck in a mezzanine, started at Christmas, finished in March, just at the time when I spoke to you last. That was a big we took a big investment. But obviously the interesting thing is, probably a quarter of those are directly involved in the shop floor. Yeah. The other 3/4 are supporting customer service, tech, finance, all this other funny stuff. And because now we've all learned how to work from home, one desk becomes 2 desks, one car parking space becomes 2 car parking spaces, because people are only going to ever do 2.5 days in the office. So then it's made our facility much more efficient, because we can get more value out of it. So we are in the middle of a roller coaster. We are probably up 25%, but we can't be more than that, because even though the market demands more, but in some respects you don't want to fulfill the market, because some of that is just that there is a level of sort of slight fluff, and when people panic, they all want it. Do they really need it? Do they really want it? Because what we don't want is to sort of go woo all the way up, chuck all our eggs in the basket, recruit all these people, and then suddenly find that it's all based on sound foundations. We want to see this gradual. I've been at it 18 years. I'll take another 15 of gradual rather than sort of up and down.
I mean, everyone watching, so where are we going to concentrate on what Will said? He's just said about 20 nuggets of gold. I do love that. I remember at the podcast, and anyone who hasn't listened to Will on Conversations of Inspiration, please do, because I do remember you saying that then as well, not the same way, but I would prefer to have this slow growth that is maintained over time, rather than this fast growth, as you said, where we can get ourselves into real hot water, can't we? From a cash perspective, as you said, you can believe it. This is where your beauty of your wisdom, Will, your wisdom comes in. No,
there's no wisdom. The only wisdom I've got is in my teeth.
Yeah. But because listen, you're telling us, and for everyone listening, it's such sound advice that we don't get anywhere else. Grow based on your solid foundations. Do not grow based on fluffy, hot air, ego, want to have growth.
Yes, but then in the very same breath, I've just told you that we're going to recruit 195 people. So actually, I've been with Brompton for a long time, 18 years. It's the first time in my career in Brompton, we don't think we'll be able to supply demand for 2 years. This is a really extraordinary situation. And if it wasn't for the fact that, Will Norman, who's looking after cycling in London, was investing in cycle lanes, that they're doing it in Paris, that they're doing it all over the world. If it was just knee-jerk, we wouldn't be doing this. But actually, this is the first time where we are getting our chips, which we've worked hard for and saved, and there they are sitting, and I'm going to pick the flipping, not all of them, but a lot of those chips. I'm picking them all up and I'm stuffing them on the table, because this is the one time when, if you don't go for it now, and take a bit of risk, then when the hell else are we going to do it? So we are going for it. Do we quite know whether we're overdoing it? We don't quite know. But hell, if we can't do it now, and you know, the country needs people to employ people. So we're one of the lucky ones that things are going well. So let's bring people in and see if they can help us.
You're putting those chips on the betting board and you're going for it. And you know what, Will, after 18 years, you've got the heartbeat of this company. You do know what you're doing. You don't know exactly, but you do know what you're doing. And in March, when we spoke about innovation, you know, you were just feeling that, you know, you had all these bike hubs. You know, this was the innovation for Brompton at the time. And then actually you were like, should we think about leasing, or should we think about hiring? And it was really interesting, because it was almost going, so you were okay with going, right, this is what we're hearing, let's change this strategy. Tell me what has happened there, but also, has there been any other sort of innovation like that you've come across during this period of time that we haven't spoken?
So what we ended up doing with Wheels for Heroes, which was our campaign for the NHS, is we put in, I mean, it's hard to qualify it exactly, but we put in maybe a couple of hundred grand, something like that, into that Wheels for Heroes campaign. We raised about 320 grand. That allowed us to get 800 bikes built for the NHS in unique colours. And what we have done is we lend those to NHS staff for free for 30 days. I think they have to pay £1 because we have to get their bank details so that they don't offer them. Because even though the NHS are amazing, there are people who will nick a bike in the NHS, just like the staff in Brompton and just like anywhere else in the world. So you've got to be careful. And then, as it happened in the midst of the lockdown, they had them potentially for 2 or 3 months. But as we're coming out, we want to create a pool of sustainable change agent through these bikes, this legacy. So we lend it to somebody for a month. They can have a play, see if they like it, you know, see what the route's like, you know, make sure they get the hang of the fold and unfold. And then we then offer it to them at a little bit less than what it costs us to maintain and look after the system, which is 15 quid a month, 50p a day, for 3 months. And actually, out of the people that take the bike, 60% are taking it then for another 3 months. And now they're paying a bit of something. So there's clearly some value, because when it's free, it doesn't really have value. You think, well, I'll have it anyway. And then after the 3 months, they are then introduced to the Cycle to Work scheme. They're introduced to leasing, buying, not just our bike, any number of bikes, local secondhand bikes. So we're trying to mobilize people, and then we get those bikes back to try and get more people, to give them the opportunity to give it a go at a low entry. And that, even though we did that for the NHS, really, it's made us, that is like a massive sort of leasing trial. And so we've learned so much from that. So we're now in the process of taking that learning from something that we did totally for the NHS out of the sort of depth of COVID, and we're going to try and make it a commercial leasing proposition. And actually the team, it was all fly by the seat of your pants. Everyone was, because you want to help. And when you're in the middle of the crisis, we were making bikes, but we didn't feel we were doing our bit. So it really lifted the spirits of everyone in the company, because we had some of our staff being stopped by police. We had some of our staff where their family going, what are you doing? You're not a key worker. You're going to make bikes. But actually we were key workers because we were making bikes so people didn't have to go on the tube, but it wasn't that obvious. But when we were able to say, and our staff said, oh, we're making bikes for the NHS, it made everyone feel proud. But out of the back of that, we've got this interesting subscription model that we're developing, and we've had to become FSA registered, and there's all these other things that come out of it. It's pretty exciting. I mean, still very, very early days. And then, of course, all the other stuff, we had to reconfigure the entire factory. So the entire factory moved, every station moved from 1.7 meters to 2.3 meters, barriers, wandering around in funny circles. We've all got loads fitter because we have to go round and round the merry-go-round.
And it's a big place.
Yeah, I know. And it's like, you want to get from A to B, and if you've missed it, you have to jog to the loo, because it could have taken you like 1 minute, but now it takes 3. And it's hilarious. And it's sort of working. Again, nothing is perfect. And what we've tried to explain to our staff is you can't get rid of the risk. What you're trying to do is put in place reasonable measures to significantly reduce the risk. But it's not like you know, if you want to reduce the risk, just don't get out of bed in the morning, because that's the easiest way to reduce the risk of everything. But life would be fairly dull if that's what we did.
You must be so excited. I was just talking sort of founder to founder. You know, you must be so excited by the fact that, you know, you're innovating. You know, you're truly innovating. You're now bringing potentially leasing into Brompton Bikes, this whole new world. And I'm interested to know, what do you feel for those listening that might have a similar idea, not leasing, but, you know, something that you're saying is turning on a light bulb? Do you worry that you are cannibalizing the sort of client base at the moment, or do you feel like you're tapping into a completely different pool of people who potentially weren't going to buy the bike without testing it? Because ultimately, I'm assuming you're hoping you go from that 1 month, the NHS trial, 3 months, and then hopefully the idea is they say, yeah, you want to convert them.
But I think you've got to be careful, because you've got to be very, very wary about protecting what you've got. Because if you protect what you've got because you think, you know, we've got the golden goose and we know this works, and the old it ain't broke, so don't fix it, la-di-da, la-di-da. But if you think there is an opportunity, but you're not going to take it because it might damage your core business, and you sit on that and you sit on that and you sit on that, you've got to think, if you can see the opportunity, so can the competition. So if you're not doing it, and you will know best how to do it because you've been in the industry longer, it's going to be harder for the competition, but they can see it too. So if you don't run for that opportunity and qualify it and learn about it, and you can do it in a controlled, proactive way, then if you just pretend to ignore it and think that it'll all be fine as long as we look after what we've got, you may find that for a couple of years you're fine, but then somebody comes in and just eats you for lunch, because they will take that opportunity that you haven't had the confidence to go for. And whenever you take these opportunities, you've got to just make sure you don't bet the farm and have a great laugh, because it's always a bit exciting when you're doing new stuff. It's always a little bit scary, and you're not quite sure what's going to happen. Now, there's a difference between fun and scary and stress and like can't sleep at night. And the difference is betting the farm. Don't bet the farm. Take a sum of your savings, a sum of your hard-earned cash, and be prepared to blow the lot. And in blowing the lot, learn tons. If you blow the lot, you mess it up, but you learn loads. So you blew what you could afford to blow, and you know you'll never do it again, and you've sort of learned all those valuable lessons. That was a good investment. If you spend your money and you think, hey, you know what, this has got a bit more potential, you then start doing a bit more really structured work, and then you go, okay, we're gonna be a bit riskier now, but we get some friends to help, we're gonna put a bit more in. But as long as you don't go light overboard, you can have fun, you can take risk, and you can learn without being totally stressed and freaked out, because life's too short.
Life is too short. God, it's just, I told you, everyone, he's pretty good at this. Very, you know, take this on board. One of the things I wanted to also talk to you about is your ability with the crystal ball, because when we spoke in April, you said to me, we were going to as a society, your hunch was you thought we were going to go back to basics, and you felt that people are going to seek out brands to spend their money with, where they feel like there's a human face to business, you know, there's a humanness to it. Tell me how you're feeling about this, because from my point of view, when I look around and when I talk to small businesses, more than ever do I believe that we're going to see a future where brands do have a front person, potentially someone who is innovating, that founder, honorary founder, CEOs who are wanting to get out there and put themselves forward, because actually this is a bit of a human thing. You know, this is at this point in time with AI on the increase, and it's going to be phenomenal for our world. So, you know, it's going to change things. There is an absolute requirement to feel more human, to consume more human. What have you seen during this time? And I think so much, lots of hearts are coming up right now, because I think this is what the community are feeling. They felt it.
So what's really interesting is that there has been some talk in our particular sector, and it's relevant to those people who are listening, that the reason why people are jumping on a bike is because of fear. And there is an element of truth in that. There is a lot of
Yeah.
fear around. And in some cases, the fear is bigger than the reality. But that's not surprising in the current climate and what we're seeing. We turn on the radio and fear, fear, fear. But the other thing that's worth reflecting on is that as a society, we all had something that nobody has had for 3 generations, which is time to reflect. The lockdown was pretty scary, but we were broadly with our families. Those people that lived in cities where the city is just mayhem, intense, bad, bomb, open the door, air pollution, cars everywhere, hold on to children's hands, everybody manic, got to get to work, got to drop the kids off, manic. We had this like incredible period where it was like, oh my God, we had time. We spent time, we saw our children, we spent time chatting to them. We engaged with our community. And I think more powerful than the fear has been a sense of purpose in life. What do we want in our lives? We've been so busy, we popped out and suddenly it's like rush, 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 rush. And we had this thing, and guess what? We have a climate emergency. Millions of us around the world learned from that experience and thought, I like a lot of that. There's much of what I just had, which is what I want. Be that the fact that the cities are calmer, be that you spend more time with your family at home. And do I need to buy all this crap that I don't really need? Do I need to keep killing myself to get a bigger house or the smarter car and all this peripheral SH1T? No, what I need to do is buy less beautiful things that are contributing to society, that are not sucking the heart out of our little blue planet, that are looking after the people that work for them. So in that regard, businesses that genuinely care. And the reason you need a person is not because of the person themselves, it's because the person is articulating the values of the business with absolute integrity. The trouble is with too many businesses, the chat at the top, it's skin deep, and you do a bit of digging and it gets nasty, and the consumer's tired of the bullshit. And that's why I think if you're a business that has integrity, that cares about your staff, and none of us are perfect, us definitely not, but we're blooming trying, I think the customer will respect that more and more.
I mean, just drop the mic. I think that's a very, very modern expression that I shouldn't really use because it's not very suited. But that everyone is just saying, please, Holly, capture everything that Will is saying, because yes. It's just I'm a bit speechless. I got a bit teary as you spoke there, because this is my last interview, and I think that how wonderful that you could articulate that, what the period of time that we have gone through. I'm going to be saved by the comments that are coming in. We've got Kimonoist. Good afternoon from Los Angeles. Lush Designs. I love my Brompton. I'm positively evangelical about
evangelical.
Thank you. Not very.
I am evangelical too.
About these wonderful bikes. Linda Sunday Best, so happy to hear Brompton Bikes are thriving. Nicola Rowlands, this has really made me smile. The Thoughtful Potter, so clever. This is brilliant. You are doing good as well as creating a new revenue stream for your business. This is what happens when you have a can-do attitude. Strixscapes, he talks as it is. No blooming fluff. That's why it's gold. We read Upcycles. Yes, yes, yes. Anna Brand Stories Moss. This is the best live guest you've had on yet, Holly. So much knowledge, experience. I want him as my mentor. I mean, and the list goes on. I've got another question for you. You spoke brilliantly about leadership on the podcast, and a quote that you shared, and I've spoken about it, crediting you many times, so your ears might be warm. It was about scattering your stars so that together you shined bright. It was when you were talking about your staff, it's a little bit what you said, you know, it's not really about the front person being the person. It's about the fact that you're the voice.
Yep.
And it's very much what you spoke about with your staff, that together you shined bright. And it was about you as a boss scattering the stars. And I just had this lovely image of you up on that balcony that we stood in your in the factory. And it's literally you just scattering stars across everybody. Your staff, your team obviously was, you know, one of your priorities that we spoke back in April was all about keeping hold of everybody, doing your best. Tell me how you've weathered that ambition, and have there been other ambitions during this period of time that have also subsequently been added to that? Have you been able to keep people on? Because lots of people who are listening today, and, you know, crikey, Will, this news that's coming out, and we haven't really heard the worst of it yet, have we? About what's happening with employment. Talk to me about this. So
it was really, I'm writing it down because I've got a brain like a sieve and I don't want to get it wrong. But it was sort of rather lucky that we did some work. We in 2008, when I took over at Brompton, having joined in 2002, we were getting big enough that you couldn't assume everyone knew what we meant as a company. So we had to slightly try writing it down. And we sort of encapsulated it in that we want to change how people live in cities. But that, which is what we're trying to do. And we're making little steps of progress. And it's so lovely to hear from some of our customers, because that's what it's all about. And but we did some work at the end of last year, which culminated in us having a great knees up and celebrating the fact that we had invoiced 50,000 bikes the year before. And in 2002, I was given a bottle of champagne by some students from Cranfield when I managed to persuade them, we were a tiddly company then, to come and do a bit of free consultancy on us. They gave me a magnum of champagne. I said I wouldn't open it until we were trying to get to 25,000 bikes from 5,000 bikes at the time. But I said to myself, I'm not opening this bottle until we do 50,000 bikes. It took me 17 and a half years. That bottle went under every single desk that I had been in and moved from while I'd been at Brompton. And we had this party, and I opened the bloody bottle. It was amazing. We also had a flipping Nebuchadnezzar, so that everyone else had a drop. But it was a real moment. But in preparation for that, we did some work on what we stood for. And we came up with it's more of an internal thing, but if I want to speak to my staff and say, why did we come for work? And what we agreed was that we would say that what Brompton is about is that we create urban freedom for happier lives. And each one of those words means something. We, because we're a team, both our customers, you know, create because we're makers, urban is relevant because you live in or you engage with cities, and freedom and happiness are really at the real heart of what we do. And we toyed over whether we use happiness and up, but some people think it's naff, but happiness is everything. If you're not healthy, if you haven't got friendship, if you've got anxiety, you're not happy. So you can talk about lots of other things, but ultimately it's all encompassed in happiness. And freedom is important because we get weighed down by all the pressures, by all the sort of things we have to do, and we're setting ourselves expectations to be perfect parents, perfect at work, perfect at entertaining, you know, and actually the little bike makes you feel free. So, and what we realized, that happiness was actually some of our staff aren't actually as happy as they should be. And it's all good and well going out saying to everybody, "Ooh, we're going to make you all happy," when I've got some of my staff who've got challenges. We pay the London living wage. Our staff, if they've got the skills and they really get stuck in, they can do well, but there are deeper challenges. So it was a real reflection for us that we need to do more internally. We need to focus on our staff, on their families, on where they're going. And that journey is beginning. And it's around mental health, it's about education, it's about diversity, it's about how they manage their finances, it's about having fun, it's about the place that we go to work in. But when you actually really look inside, we're not doing enough for our own staff. So our real focus, for me particularly, over the next 12 to 18 months, and it's never going to be perfect, and we're always going to get bits wrong, but we could do a hell of a lot more. And so before we start doing the external stuff, we need to make sure we're doing more internally and pull that up.
God, it's really interesting. I'm learning so much, communities, you're listening to Will, we all learn from each other. What I love there is that it reminded me not of similar, but how Google have these campuses and they keep everyone there, don't they? And they, you can do your laundry and you can do your exercising, you can do anything. Yeah. So do not leave Google. And yeah, exactly. You keep in that sort of that bubble. But on the opposite of that, the sort of better side of that, but the same sort of understanding that they're investing in their staff for one reason.
Yeah.
Do you think that the future, because I've done some interviews lately, I'm fortunate enough to also be hiring not 190 people, funny enough.
Every little matters.
Every little matters. But when I was doing these interviews, they were saying, you know what, it's really hard out there to get a job. And these are skilled people, been in worlds 20 years, in great brands. It's actually, there's not that many great brands to work for where they're looking at being a better business, where they've got the nous, do you know what I mean, that they understand, they've been there, they've done that, and they're growing and they're doing some interesting things. And I just thought there when you were speaking, how important will, in the future, when we start investing in our staff, in our team, in our work family, because actually maybe the process is harder to get a job in the brand, let's just say, but actually, that when you're in, you're sort of in, and that's anyone else is going to F it up, and I'm not talking about, you do the wrong thing or things are going to go well. And we all know even the best of marriages can end. But it's actually, do you think that potentially the future, we're going to find that, with people being made redundant at the moment, people are looking to go into a business where exactly what you've said is at the forefront of the CEO's mind?
Well, it's really interesting because we are in a very privileged position to be growing, and that means that we're looking for talent. And actually, as a result of this crisis, in a rather sort of sad way, there is incredible talent out there at the moment. But what was quite surprising is we've recruited for some quite high caliber, very technical people that we need to help us grow. And we were expecting they would be people that would be made redundant, or people where the industry that they are in is, it's in pretty tough times. But actually some of our applicants have come from similar industries that are in really good shape, where they are gainfully employed. But what's happened is, as a result of the coronavirus, they've reflected on their life, their contribution to society. How do they want to look back and think, how did I use my little grey cells in my career? And they've decided that the company they're working for is not aligned with what they want to contribute. So they want to actually work for someone that they feel is, again, I will repeat 1,000 times, we are far from perfect, but we are trying to contribute to make our little blue planet a bit more sustainable. And it's interesting how the thing we were talking about earlier, a lot of us had time to reflect on what life is all about. And therefore that will affect where we want to go and work. And we are not able to compete financially with lots of other companies. That's just the reality. We can't do it. So it's not money. It's a lot more than that. And again, for a lot of those people listening, I think, if you're in a business where there's passion, where you care about our planet and you care about your staff, that is a very, very precious commodity and will allow you to attract people that otherwise bigger organizations might miss out on.
Golden, absolutely golden. I have a comment here. Minnie and Grouse Interiors. My dad has one of your bikes. He is 86 and loves it. It keeps him fit and young. Lots of people also I'm sure, going to be looking at your employment on your website, because lots of people in these comments are saying, I'd like a job in a company like this. So, yeah, I'm assuming people can go and find out.
Apply.
Apply.
My dad's 82, and we have a race the Brompton World Championship. Sadly, we didn't have it this year because of coronavirus. But Dad has raced in every Brompton World Championships for the last 10 years. And it was really funny because he lives outside York, and he's not some lycra cyclist, but he uses it periodically. But then in the build-up for the big race, he starts his training, and he does it's about an 8-mile circuit. But at home, he lives in the countryside. You know, you don't really need to fold your Brompton, but obviously he has a Brompton because he's supporting his son. So he's been doing all this training, and for the last one we did, the year before last, he was furiously training, and his time was coming down. He was really feeling like he was in for one of his record times. He came down to London, all excited with Mum. You know, there we were, and the bikes are folded. We have like 600 bikes on the Mall. It's a Le Mans start. You run to your bike, you unfold it, and off you go. And then you are put into heats of 100, so the slightly slower riders are at the end. So Dad is in the last 100. And the first 100 gone, da-da-da, then it's the last 100. And whilst Dad had done all his training, he was getting his time up, the one thing he'd slightly forgotten to practice was the unfold. Oh, no. So poor Dad, everybody had gone, and Dad he couldn't get the damn thing unfolded. You know, he was the last man to get his bike to go. He was so upset. Huge cheer went up, you know.
And then off he went. Oh, yeah, my goodness.
But he's going strong. He's going strong. He's loving it.
I love that. I've got a few big questions for you because you're my last guest on this. So I just want to ask you a couple of questions. So what do you think is the biggest lesson you've learnt personally in the last 7 months?
So my biggest lesson is to remind everybody what leadership is. And unfortunately, I think at many levels, people have forgotten what true leadership is. And true leadership is not following the crowd. True leadership is taking risk, is having the confidence in yourself and your team to understand the crisis, because we will face crises. Understand it, take some time to talk about it and really decide what it means for you and your business, and take the decision that's right for you and your business. What we tend to find today, politics, large companies, the tiniest risk, woof, straight to the biggest, bum covering extreme. And that's not leadership. And so for me, we have taken risks throughout this. Not me, some gung-ho flag waving person charging off. No, we as a team, and there is no right and wrong answer, because guess what? Leadership isn't black and white, it's grey. And you have to make calculated risk. That's what business is. It's a whole load of calculated risk. And unfortunately, in the last 7 months, there hasn't been enough honest debate about what the risks are. And I think that has not been good for society. Don't get me wrong, it hasn't been easy, and there is no right or wrong answer, but we've gone way too quickly, too far to one extreme.
You've just been nominated for Prime Minister just after that speech. Just in case you'd like to tackle, I'm wondering if that might be the worst job in the world at this point.
Couldn't agree more.
I just could not be there. What do you hope will be the legacy of COVID and its impact for good? Because, they're saying, even with, whether we have a vaccine or not going to have a vaccine's not going to eradicate all of this. So we're going to be living with this for a bit. So what do you think is going to be the impact?
I think this crisis on a global scale, and we haven't had this sense of global community actually for a while. If anything, we've been pulling ourselves apart and thinking that we all live in our little states and we'll protect ourselves and sod everyone else. I think the fact that somehow as a society we've hidden death. We put old people in a little home and let them shrivel up and die over there. And people used to die in your house. We were quite familiar with death. We used to see animals in butchers, but death is hidden. And we've been a bit afraid of it. But this crisis has brought death right up front and center. And we're not used to it. It's a bit scary. We had a generation that went through 2 wars. They were quite, sadly, but they were quite ready for death because it was there and they saw it. And you need to remember that we're all going to die. and that we are only here for a short period of time. And I think if you can reconcile that, you start readdressing how you want to live while you are here, and that we're only custodians of this planet or this house or this whatever, and we're trying to bring up the next generation. And I think we've got a bit too greedy, and we think that we can control everything and we can live forever, and that, you know, we're all powerful and we're all, you know, and actually we're here for the, you know, the blink of an eye, and we've got to do our best to not bugger it up. And to be honest, capitalism has done many great things, but you look back and it, consciously and unconsciously, it's buggered up a lot. And I think more than anything, it's that total global reflection as a united world, because it has been, we've had to be united because this is a global problem. I think if we can hold on to a bit of that and use it to reflect on how we want to live, because this climate emergency is proper, and we have to shift how we go about our lives. And I think this might have just come in the nick of time.
I mean, I'm literally, I'm getting emotional. What would you say at the moment to the small businesses who are listening, who are adoring, saying this is the best live I've done out of all 55, Will? No, so your first one, we'll call it 54, because your first one was as good. What would you say to small businesses listening? With the news that potentially, you know, we've got, you know, who knows if we're going to go into this circuit breaker lockdown, and you know, you think about our fellow small businesses in Liverpool and places like that, who, you know, they've just managed to open again and now they're closing again. And I don't want to sound overly optimistic, but you know, I know that there is a lot of strong small businesses out there, but it is scary times. It's scary times when you've got a month's worth of cash in the bank, and that is it. If that, what advice might you have for those founders listening?
I think I'm going to be quite commercial here, because we're talking about business. This is about business. If you look around the world, there is a lot of cash. Even though you may not feel it yourself, governments have been pumping huge amounts of money into these economies. Now, we as a company have just taken some of our savings and put it into a high interest account. That high interest account is getting 0.1% interest a year. That's a high interest account. The stock market is vulnerable. Nobody knows where it's going to be. The property market, who knows whether it's up or down? Is property, you know, commercial property, shop property. We're in this huge uncertainty. And so there is actually an opportunity to get investment from real people into your business. So I think if you're struggling, when we tried to raise money for the NHS at a time when people's jobs were on the line, at a time when people were fearful of themselves, there was incredible goodwill amongst people to give money. 320 grand.
I mean, not a small amount.
No. And like so many of our staff gave money, and we raised that in like 18 days. So I think it is tough, but lean on your community. We have a community spirit. If you're doing good things, if you're creating something worthwhile, I think you've got to reach out and ask for help from the community. And actually, they can benefit too, because they'll probably get a better return, a better sense of well-being in supporting small businesses, giving you the cash flow you need, give up a bit of your equity for the long term. And I think, you know, there is hope and there is funds available, and you're likely, if you're small and entrepreneurial, to be giving a hell of a lot more than 0.1% return a year.
What fantastic advice. Will, you've got like light dappling on you, as if you're like in a like,
it's nearly blinding me. I read your instructions, but somehow it was all looking good until the sun's come from behind a cloud.
But you, with your advice and running, obviously, and people wanting to run for PM, and you've got like this dappling light, as if you've got candles around you, and you're sort of speaking the truth, and it's sort of slightly spiritual, Will, I have to tell you that.
Yes, yes, I make bicycles, just bring you quickly down to earth.
Not in our eyes right now, not in our eyes. You're brilliant. I'm going to now make you blush even more as you leave us. But Will, thank you so much for your time in helping this community. And I wish you everything. You're the real deal. You're super inspirational. And I'm going to play this back to myself and make notes, because so much of what you've said I want to take on board personally. But bless you for being so kind with your time, and thank you again for joining us.
Well, many thanks for inviting me, and good luck, everybody. We have a way to go, but I think, as ever, there is plenty to be optimistic about.
Absolutely. On that note, thank you. Take care, Will. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. I mean, I don't know if you saw, I was just welling up there because, oh my goodness, what a gentleman. Let's just think about some of those practical things that he spoke about. Cash is king or cash is queen. You know, yes, there might be demand, but grow according to your solid foundation. What he said is, don't just believe your bubbles. Don't just believe because everyone's shopping small at the moment and you've had Christmas every day, that you're going to have Christmas every day now for the rest of your life. You're not. So expand accordingly, but you might have to, which will feel alien, not to actually supply all the demand. So be smart. And I think that was such a good piece of advice. Don't bet the farm. He was also talking about that feeling, you know, that sick feeling at night when you don't know you can afford the staff wages. You don't know if you can keep your shop open. You don't know all these things. You know, that sick feeling. Don't bet the farm. So go for innovation. You have to go for innovation. You have to try things. But when you do these things, just bet the amount that you can lose. Because if you bet the farm, not only will you not be in the right mental state to be able to create that innovation, it is just too stressful for words. And I just love that he picked out another nugget of gold there. The consumer wants to buy from businesses that are articulating the personal values. You know, articulate why you're here, what it is that you want to do, and why you need your customers or your community to support you. You know, you are that megaphone. That is the thing that you are. It's not that you are just taking the credit, but I say about Holly & Co, you know, it's not me. I'm just the voice of the community. I'm just articulating it to people that we want to talk to. I'm that megaphone for us. And that's really the right way to look around. There is no space for ego in these places, in these spaces, especially if you're leading. And we are only custodians on this planet, on this earth. We should do our best to help the planet on a global scale. And I love this whole thing. I'm gonna definitely pick apart Will's time with us and definitely share it. You can obviously see it on IGTV today, and then we'll cut it and edit it so that it will always be available to everybody. But I love this idea that we've had death hidden, and now we've had death exposed more, and it's making us all wake up. We all didn't have our faces in the sunshine looking at life the way that potentially that we should. And happiness is everything. You know, he's not saying he's perfect. I mean, none of us are perfect in business. I mean, we're just doing our best. He said that leadership is great. It is. But to be a leader, you are there to cement that grey. You're there to drive forward. You're there to do the best you can. And you're there to make your staff happy and feel fulfilled. And it's an amazing, I'm sure he would agree, privileged role to play in any organisation. And if you can listen to his podcast, he talks about scattering the stars amongst his staff so that we could all shine, that it wasn't he who was that only star, but it was more about everybody. We'll pop a swipe up to Will's podcast after, because it's a goodie. Thank you so much. But for now, I just want to thank you all. On Saturday, I found myself not crying, but maybe crying. Maybe I was crying, and I shouldn't be. I'm not saying I wasn't crying, but vulnerable on stories, because I posted something that was, touching on some personal feelings, and this community swooped in. I mean, that's all I can say. I felt like you swooped in, and I feel like you swoop in on all of these lives, on all that I do, on everything that we're building. SME SOS has been one of the most privileged proudest moments of my life. I was just doing some women supporting women breakfasts, and I told everybody that I was doing this conference, and I told everybody, you know, they asked me, what's the proudest moment? And I said, you know what, honestly, lately, in my career, SME SOS, because I have felt more connected to all of you than I have ever before, and it's taken me on a new direction with my company, and it means that you will be seeing a lot more of me, because I don't think I can not be with you all. It is the highlights of my day. How lucky have we been for all these founders to jump on and help us? I mean, how is that we are so lucky? How is it that Will just spent an hour when he's employing 190 people? Can you only imagine that, by the way? Think about hiring one. Now times it by 190, with demand going through the roof, and yet he is here talking to us. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And a big shout out. And if we can all do, I've never done this before, it's all a bit influency. Can we all do claps? Because I want to clap my team at Holly & Co, to all of them who have been unbelievable, because I sit here and do this bit, and I research and all these things, but this is a team effort. You know, how do you think that those videos are getting onto the IGTV grid, which, by the way, hasn't really, I don't see many people doing that, capturing IGTVs that normally disappear, but we go to those efforts and lengths to make sure that you can look at them at any point in time. SME SOS, the podcast, you know, that doesn't just happen. Everything that you see, the research, the social, everything that you see, these are amazing women who are the wind beneath my wings. They are Holly & Co. I'm just the megaphone. I'm the megaphone to you, the community, but I really thank you, team. You know, I will be in tears in about 1 second after I turn this all off, but thank you so much. Thank you, team. Thank you, community. I'm going to be back on Friday, but before I go, I also want to say thank you to all the small business supporters who have supported this, but especially Dell, who kept on going with us, who made sure that we could listen to these experts. And you know what, I work with the most amazing brands, but a big shout out to Dell. Genuine people doing amazing things, giving away those XPS laptops, giving away what is going to be tremendous next year in terms of advice and support for this community. We're just working out plans. It's going to be incredible. And this is genuine. It's not just big business wanting to come and sort of lend a logo. This is truly authentic support. Right, I'm off. I'm going to see you on Friday at 12 o'clock. Lots of love, and thank you again for everyone's support through what has been an honour, SME SOS. Oh, now I am going to cry. I better go.